what should you name your show? What is a good title for your podcast? Number 1, if you have a recognizable name, if you are already a personal brand or you're trying to build your personal brand, then naming your show your name, The Brianna Ansaldo Show, that's fine. You can do that. You can play with the ending of it, like podcast or show or experience or whatever. The Joe Rogan Experience. Or let's say Andrew Huberman and his show is called The Huberman Lab. Now that's kind of cool for a different reason because it has lab in there and then it plays into the fact that it's science-based tools. And so we've got lab in there and it feels like that's a cool way to end it that isn't just show or experience or podcast. But the key there is to know that if you're trying to build your personal brand or you have a personal brand already, using your name, no probs. If you feel like people will be typing your name in a lot, like they would anyway in Google searches, then that's awesome. If you are less of a known figure and you actually don't want to potentially be the face as much, or you're trying to let people know of your existence, then don't call your show your name because you're not known yet. And a lot of the time what wins from a podcast title perspective is to make it kind of boring. Yeah, it might be a bit of a snooze fest as a title, but it's targeting the person searching for that thing. Now, if we used Amy Porterfield as the example here, the name of her show is Online Marketing Made Easy with Amy Porterfield. Online marketing is something that lots of people would search for. And then the fact that it goes that layer deeper, so it's online marketing made easy, is then targeting that person. It's like, I don't have a lot of time, I want to understand it, I want it to be easy, I'm new to the space. See how the title of that podcast hits everything. And then Amy Porterfield is secondary. It's like, yeah, she's still there, she's still in the title because she is a known figure, but she wants it to be less about her and more about the actual search function. So think about that for yourself when you're titling your show. What would someone be searching for that you feel like hits your target, what you're actually going to be talking about for your show? Podcast names that are a little bit more obscure don't tend to go as well from a search point of view. You have to do a little bit more work into those to establish them as like the brand name. Okay, let's say Gold Digger by Jenna Kutcher. Again, she's quite well known. It's not really about her, like as in she doesn't want it to be the Jenna Kutcher Show. She wants it to be Gold Digger. And that's a fun play on words there, but it's not something that someone's going to search for, right? They're not going to search Gold Digger. But what you can do to get around that, if you aren't established as a name, is you can go then into the podcast description in the back end of your podcast host and make sure that you're targeting keywords in the description for the show. So if we look at this one, live workshop style business and marketing podcast with actionable step-by-step tips that are helping thousands redefine success and chase bolder dreams. So if you go on to read more about this, you'll be able to see that there's lots of words, keywords there that make sense, that work really well for the niche. That means that there's less emphasis on what the name of the show is. It can be a little bit more fun. It can be a little bit more playful because what you've got in your actual podcast description still hits what you need it to hit. And then further to that, if you're really trying to get search keyword heavy, but you don't want to name your show something more boring, then you can go that layer deeper again and actually make sure that the show notes that you're writing and the episode titles that you're writing, episode titles are very important. You want to make sure that they are keyworded as well, so they can hit who you are trying to target if you want the name of your show to be a little bit more fun. So for us here, if I give you the example of Bambi Media and we use Pump Up Your Pod as the name of the show, it kind of hits it, right? So pump up meaning, we want to make your podcast better. It's got pod in the title. It's brought to you by Bambi Media. It's not brought to you by me because it's not about me. It's about the company in general. Even though I'm the face, it's not the personal brand Brianna Ansaldo. And so then if we go into any of those episodes, we've got very targeted episode titles that are very searchable. And then when you click through, this is the same show notes that are on podcast platforms. We've got lots of targeted, keyworded show notes in there that mean that if someone's searching for something relating to the Rode NT USB, they will find it in the podcast player. So that when they do the search and they find you because they're looking for information about podcasts, they then see, oh, that's a fun name, or that's a cool podcast artwork, that's something that's hooking me. And they found me because the search function has been big enough where we've put all the words that mean that they can find you easier. Same thing goes, and I would argue more broader, when people are searching on YouTube, because YouTube is the second largest search function in the world. You want to make sure that you're hitting those targets, if not in your podcast name there, definitely in the description for the episodes, so that you are hitting what you need to hit there in order to achieve that. So think about playing with those ideas, okay? It doesn't have to be your name, although if you're wanting to build your personal brand, then it can be a good idea to have it be your name. If it's going to be a fun name, then you need to make sure you're supporting it with really structured, keyworded episode titles and podcast description. And if you want to do a double, triple whammy on that, then have the actual name of your show be a bit more boring, that then someone understands straight away what they're getting once they find that show. Like the Amy Porterfield example, they know what they're getting because it's very clear what it is based on the title of that podcast. If you love this kind of content, please hit the like and subscribe button over on YouTube if you happen to be there. And if you're on podcast platforms, please hit the follow button if you haven't already. I love seeing the way this community is growing. I feel so supported. Thank you so much for following us on this journey, and I will chat to you next week.